told of the time, the route it would take. We had our hazardous material people in the Idaho State Police involved in it, and the people in the area of Idaho. It'll only be in our state for a short period of time, a couple of hours at most, and we're not concerned about it.
The governor says since the reactor core isn't staying in Idaho, it doesn't fall under his waste ban. Waste already in state is what concerns Andrus. He'll testify tomorrow in Idaho Falls on the proposed new production reactor. He'll push for the facility at the INEL.
A critical car accident. As part of Emergency Medical Services Week, I was invited to spend the morning as a victim of a staged car accident. The reason, to give you a first-hand account of what it's like to have your life hanging in the hands of local emergency medical workers. Now remember, this is a training exercise and not a real accident.
Ma'am, are you okay? Okay, what I want you to do, my name is John, and I'm from the fire department. I'm here to help you.
Time is the critical element here. Inside the city limits, Boise firemen try for a response time under 5 minutes.
Yeah. Good call.
Trained in basic life support, the firefighter is normally the first on the scene of an accident. One of his priorities is to remove the car so he can remove me.
Yeah, I'll get it. Up on the box. We have tools that are either hydraulic operated or air operated that have the power or capability of cutting the vehicle away so we can minimize movement to the patient.
Is that T-car on? With inner clocks ticking, paramedics who are trained in advanced life support team up with the fire department.
1, 2, 3.
Their goal, to beat the 10-minute rule, getting me, the patient, from the accident scene to the hospital within 10 minutes.
Everybody on the scene has to be focused on the same sort of a thing, and that being quickly accessing the patient, stabilizing their injuries, and buying some time for them, and getting them to the hospital where they can get into surgery for definitive care.
This team also works on one more timeline, which may be the most important deadline for saving lives. They call it the golden hour. If they can get a critically injured person into surgery within 1 hour, the patient has a better chance of surviving. You, the eyewitness to an accident such as this, would be a key element to starting that life-saving clock.
When you call 911 for an emergency like this, you're putting into motion a tremendous system, and it starts with the 911 dispatcher to the quick response unit from the fire department, the paramedics on the paramedic units, the hospital emergency staff, and all of the hospital staff that goes involved with that. All of them have to work together for the same goal of getting that patient in for definitive treatment within that golden hour.
If you are the first person to come upon an accident scene, here are some suggestions on what to do. First, don't remove the patient. Instead, call 911, and here's what dispatchers will want to know. The exact location of the accident, description of the accident, number of patients, and are the patients still in the vehicle? Position of the vehicle as well. If it is by the water, the Boise Fire Department's dive team will automatically be called out. There are 28 divers in the city. They train monthly, and we have had them working in our area since the 1970s.
Interesting. What's it like to be crumpled inside of a car with these people working over you?
I'll tell you, it was like my heart all of a sudden sank right into my stomach to think that at any time, on any day, on any given street, that could be you or I, or you out there as well. And I'll tell you what, it made me really appreciate when I heard those sirens coming in and that I knew there was going to be some help.
To illustrate the importance of those services, then a live demonstration. Our own Jackie Liptak saw firsthand today just how EMTs, firefighters, and paramedics respond when we need them.
You got her head. I've got her head. Okay, you give me a 3 count, and we'll just lean her for just to the left. Just a little bit. Okay. Joe, need a blanket.
Incidentally, 40% of emergency services are paid for through tax
Our
dollars.
accident in Elmore County, St. Marty Creek's death is a big loss to our community. Creek was alone in her car when it slid off Simcoe Road and rolled. Creek's colleagues told us they're frustrated that they couldn't be there to help the woman who gave so much to help others. A.K. Leinhardt has that story.
All this is so that the patient that needs to be moved, we can move them, but they're not going to slide around anymore.
This is the easy part of a paramedic's job, public relations at the mall during National Emergency Medical Services Week. Bill Norris says the hard part is dealing with trauma and death every day, and now it has hit close to home. 47-year-old Marty Creek made her impact in the community of EMTs and paramedics since her first emergency response training 9 years ago. Just 3 years with Ada County paramedics, she's remembered as a woman of extraordinary dedication.
She is an excellent advanced EMT and put many hours into doing just what she loved, and that was taking care of patients.
Creek was part of Special Operations, the women and men who literally put their lives on the line to rescue others. She's the woman in the white shirt in this training photo.
If you can't trust your teammates, you shouldn't be on the team. So everyone that was on the team was trustworthy, and, you know, you have to have confidence. And Marty, I was as confident of Marty as anyone else.
Ann Creek is remembered as a woman who loved life.
Marty was very positive, upbeat, and always kept the morale high. People around her just enjoyed working with her. You know, we just have a great time because Marty enjoyed life, and to do this job where you see enough death that you have to look at the little things and you have to enjoy life.
When the job requires such sacrifice and face-to-face confrontation with death, the loss of one who embraced life hurts this close-knit group of professionals.
Very hard, very difficult, very hard to lose a good friend.
Marty Creek, 9 years of service as a volunteer and a professional lifesaver. A.K. Leinhart, Eyewitness News. Creek was on an outing with the family dogs when she had the accident. One of the dogs is still missing. If you see a reddish dog in the Simcoe Road area, the vehicles made its way down Highway 55 at noon today in honor of Marty Creek. Creek, who was 47, died last week in a car accident east of Boise. Creek had been an emergency technician in Ada County for about 9 years. The procession ended at Dry Creek Cemetery, where Creek was buried.
You may recall his farewell today to a fellow colleague. The 3-mile-long funeral procession was for Marty Creek, an Ada County EMT who was killed last weekend in a car accident. The procession out to Dry Creek Cemetery included more than 30 medical and rescue vehicles and various police and fire officials from the area. Creek worked as an EMT for the last 12 years in the Treasure Valley.
Graduates, good evening. Bitter opposition tonight to a plan to require AIDS tests for Ada County paramedics.
County commissioners announced the plan last week, and the medics don't like the idea. Night Beat reporter Mark Snyder has been looking into the story tonight.
Carolyn and Bob, paramedics are not the only ones who oppose mandatory AIDS tests. The commissioners unveiled a plan without consulting their EMS advisory board. That board met tonight.
I mean, to me, it's a can of worms. There's all kinds of legal and constitutional issues here, I believe.
A can of worms the county's EMS advisory board doesn't want to open. Commissioners say AIDS tests will ensure public confidence in emergency workers, but paramedics disagree.
I seriously doubt if there are citizens in the county who are hesitating dialing 911 for a medical emergency because they're afraid the paramedics are going to bring AIDS into their home. By far and away, we are more at risk of contracting the disease than transmitting it.
Let's keep your head down a little better, all right? Board members are surprised commissioners didn't check with them or paramedics first. A doctor on the board's disappointed the county failed to check with the medical community.
The health of America has not been improved by news releases and that sort of thing. The scientific method and looking at things objectively, studying what is really known as opposed to, what is feared.
If mandatory AIDS tests are implemented, it's believed they would be the first anywhere. The board's uneasy about safeguarding privacy.
Once you make this mandatory and make it available to the general public, you might say, because if all of us have access to it, plus Mike, plus the commissioners, you know what's going to happen. It'll be public information.
Now, the board's going to ask the commissioners for a meeting that includes public health experts, the county's lawyers, and paramedics. Now, tonight I did talk to Gary Glenn, an Ada County commissioner. He says he personally supports the idea of mandatory AIDS testing, for county paramedics, but stresses no decision has been made yet by the county. He's more than willing to have a meeting and talk it all.
When put on costumes, that tape helps motorists see who is running from house to house. Now, if you'd like your little trick-or-treater to get some, you can pick up the reflective strips from any paramedic unit or also at St. Alphonsus Emergency Room Department.
So what will the weather be like on the way to Reno? The